Hello friends, in this session we are going to learn about the mid-server installation on Azure. So first step we are going to see how to create a virtual machine or VM instance into the Azure. After that we are going to also see how we can install the particular uh, mid-server on that particular host. So these are the configurations which is standard from the Azure, which you can choose it based on your requirement. I would suggest you at least have the 3 to 4 GB of RAM for choosing of the configuration for the host. This is a basic recommendation even you are going for a simple mid-server installation. If you have a client specific requirement which is based on the resources which you are going to discover and the load which this mid servers has to be taken care, you need to opt for the clusters and multiple mid servers to taking care of this requirement. You can also go for the multiple mid servers into the load balancing manner, where it will help you to balance the load as well as taking care of redundancy or the failures in terms of disaster. Here we are going to put some basic information about the configuring the virtual machine. We will be giving the configuration details, network details, and all the disk information, the region which we are going to select, and the uh, username and password. So all these details will be required to create a virtual machine, and we will be creating this virtual machine for the installation of the mid servers. So this installation, when we will be performing, this mid server will be helping us to interact with the ServiceNow uh, instance to the Azure cloud. So based on the service principle which we have configured, this will start interacting with this particular mid server. So these are the all parameters which we need to choose and create the virtual machine. Hello friends, in this session we are going to learn about how to install the Mid server in Azure environment. So it is the same thing if we install on any of the Windows machine, but we are just going to go through all the prerequisites and how we can install the Mid servers here. So basically the steps for installing a Mid server is same on all the environment. So this is the page where we can download the installables. So you can just simply search by download in the navigation and you will be able to find these options. You have an option for Windows, Linux as a separate installables. You can choose as per your requirement, and there are also installables which is associated with maybe the MSI file which you can use, or you have an option where you can download the zip file and simply you just need to configure your specifically config.xml file and start the service. So we are going to see how we can do this particular step here, and based on that we will be moving to the installation of the server. Now the downloadables are almost about to finish, and once it is downloaded we will be starting the installation of the Mid server. So we will first start with the installation with the MSI file. I can show you how this works, but basically this is a Windows operating system which is not a server operating system. So basically we might get error because of due to that, and then once we got that error we will start with the another set of installation. So this particular demonstration is just for the information that after the ROM we required the server operating system to install the Mid server using the MSI file. So we will check for that. If that doesn't work we will go with the zip file installation. So now installation is started, and you can see this particular error which is stating that this particular installation is not allowed using the MSI file on the Windows 10 server, a Windows 10 operating system. We are finishing this. Now we will start with our actual installation from the zip file. So you can ignore this particular previous step if you do not have the server operating system. So this is the file which we need to extract on the specific folder. So we are going to extract it on the folder. You can see it is extracted. We are going to move this particular file to the respective ServiceNow folder. Now we are moving this particular file to the respective location where I need to install the Mid servers. Now the file is completely copied, all the uh, folder which we have extracted. We can go inside this particular folder. We can see that there is a agent folder, agent, and inside that we can see that config.xml file is there. So the installation part is that we need to update that file with the respective all the details. So we need to update the ServiceNow instance URL, then username which we have created in ServiceNow user table, and along with the password we need to update in this particular file. Also we need to update what is the name which we are going to give for this particular mid server instance. So after configuring all this, we just need to start the service from the command prompt or the cmd utility, and then we will be in a position to uh, install that mid server on this particular host. So this is the config.xml file, and yeah, this is the place where we need to update the URL of the ServiceNow instance. Okay, then the next step is we need to look for the username and password. So we are going to update the username and password here for the ServiceNow instance. So once we update this particular specifically the password into this particular file, that password will be once the mid server is started, it will be automatically encrypted. So apart from that, we no need to update any specific details, and this particular instance ID of the mid server will be automatically generated once the mid server is installed. So this is the start file, bat file. We just need to start as run as an administrator. So this is now the mid server installation is starting. It is started configuring the mid server, and it will create the service into the services.msc of the Windows, and in few minutes it will take around 5 to 10 minutes also to create the entry into this particular mid server table. So you can see still it is not registered here, or we cannot see the mid server entry here, but yeah, it will within a 5 to 10 minutes we will have this particular entry created, and the mid server will be up. So post that we need to validate, or sorry, we need to validate this particular mid server, and post validation we need to check if any specific configuration which we need to do, and after that we can consider that this mid server is installed. One more thing which is important in terms of Azure discovery, we need to align or give the capability to this particular mid server as Azure, so that mid server will be able to communicate with the Azure services. So we can still see that mid server is waiting, and it is uh, getting up. Hopefully this will complete in a few minutes. So we can see that this particular ID is still not generated, so it is mid server is working and configuring. It is, and we'll still wait for a few seconds. Now you can see that this file is automatically modified by ServiceNow instance, and we could see that the sysID is generated for the mid server. So mid server is almost, so we can see that this particular mid server service is installed, and it is in starting. And yes, we can see that this particular mid server is installed here. We could see it's up, and it is in Rome version. It is shows as still it requires some validation. As a next step, we will do validate here. We'll click on validate. It will ask for all the options. We can select it first time as all selected, and yeah, the validation will automatically restart the mid server. So it should take a few minutes to do that. We can see it is using the Windows server authentication for communicating with the devices. So now we can see that it is validated yes, and status is still down, so it will come up in a few minutes. This is the logs, which we can see that the mid server is initializing its pre-configurations, and I think it's up now. Since we have selected all the capabilities and all the applications are supported by this mid server, so here we might not require to specifically configure anything, but in terms of the configuration which we do in the client or the for the respective application specific, we definitely require to configure the applications and capabilities. Also, we might have to go for the dividing the IP ranges based on the configurations. So all those configurations we can take it based on the requirements.